All right, here we go. Part 2. So these are the ones with the answers are going to be ordered triples. Why triples? Because there's 3 answers, there's 3 variables. That's correct. So let's do number 1. We'll try to do as many of these as we can. I think if we do 2 of these, that should be enough. Let's see. Got a text when I say, "Ooh, got a wedding."
Can we just do all of them?
I said we'll try to do as many as we can.
5, 3. Yeah, that's what I'll say.
5, 3, and 2. 2, 3, and 5. All right, let's do that then. We'll start with number 2. So let's write it down. So it's x plus y plus 2z equals 7. X plus 2y. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. Then this one is x plus 2y plus 1z equals 8. And 2x plus y plus z equals 9. All right, so there we go. So we're going to do this by substitution and elimination. We're not going to do this by the Gauss-Jordan thing. I think it's a little more straightforward. So I'll do it the way that I did it. I got rid of the z's first. I'm just going to do it the way I did it so that I did the 8 and the 9. Okay, so I did these two. I'm just going to put a little thing right there, okay? So you could have gotten rid of the x's first if you wanted to. That would have been fine. I don't know. For some reason, I just wanted to get rid of the z's first, so that's what I did. So first thing I'm going to do is this. I'm going to, if I add these up, they need to add up to 0. So one of them has to be negative, correct? So I'll make the second one negative. So I'm going to make that negative, that one, and that one, right? If I make the whole left side negative, I got to make the whole right side negative. So I made everything negative here. And let's get rid of this thing now. Oops, gotta make sure I'm just gonna copy and paste, put it right there. Okay, and now what I'm gonna do is just add up all my columns. All right, so that's a 1x. So what's 1x minus 2x? That's negative x. 2y minus y is positive y, so I put a plus right here. That's the whole reason why I made everything negative, so I could cancel out the z's. I guess I just wanted x and y by itself. And then I add these up. It's 8 plus negative 9, which is negative 1. All right, so I'm going to hang on to this. I'm not going to use it just yet. I'll use it in a minute. All right, but I put a box around it, not because it's the answer, just because I want to just remember where it was. That's the only reason I put that box there, okay? So this has an x and a y in it. So what's another way that I could get rid of the z's? Because I want to be left with just x and y again. So let's just take the first 2. Yeah. All right, let's take the first 2 and get rid of the z's. So how am I going to get rid of the z's there? Well, if I make that z a what? A negative 2z, then they'll add up to 0. So I'm going to multiply this by negative 2, that by negative 2, negative 2, negative 2. All right? And let's write it here. So this is the first equation. And then the second one, after I multiply everything by negative 2, it's going to be negative 2x. What's that? Minus 4y minus 2z equals negative 16. Again, the whole reason I multiplied the second one by negative 2 is so I could get that to be a negative 2z. That way, these will add up to 0. All right? That's a 1x, so 1 minus negative 2 is negative 1x. This is 1y, so 1 minus 4 is negative 3y. This adds up to 0, or cancels out, and this is what? Negative 9? Is that right? Yep. Just checking my notes, make sure I didn't make any mistakes. I actually made a mistake on the... anybody watch the thing from yesterday? Probably not. If you watch it, I actually did make a big mistake. But I corrected it. I found it and corrected it. So let's see. Let's put that in a box, right? So now I got 2 equations and I got 2 unknowns. Now it should be pretty easy. Remember, the first part of the test are going to be like this, where you get 2 equations and 2 unknowns. So this is kind of like the first part of the test. This next part right here. It's negative x minus 3y equals negative 9. All right, so there's my two. All I did was take those two things in the boxes and just put them one on top of each other, just to put them together. All right. Let's see. What would you do here? Let's get rid of the x's. But what are you going to have to do to get rid of the x's? I can't just add them up the way they are now. Yeah. Well, I'm going to multiply everything by a negative, technically. All right. If I multiply that by a negative, it makes it positive. That by a negative makes it positive. That by a negative makes it positive. Okay. So you can't really say, I just make everything positive. What I'm doing is I'm changing the sign. I'm multiplying everything by -1 is basically what I'm doing here. Okay? Now let's add up my columns. Well, that eliminates. This is 4y, and this is 8. And now check this out. Now it's all downhill from now. Okay, we climbed the hill, right? We're at the top of the hill, and now we're going downhill, okay? Because now it's super easy. Just divide by 4, y is 2. So that's one of my answers. I'll just circle it so I know where it is. And now you can take that y, you could put it anywhere, well, anywhere with an x and a y. You don't want to put it in with a z because you don't, right? You only know 1 out of the 3. All right, so I would either put it in for this equation or put it in for this one. It doesn't matter. Yes?
Isn't that 3y negative?
What, this one? Oh, right here. Yeah. I went from here to here. I changed it. Okay, so now let's use this equation right here, okay? And put that y in for that. So what do I have? I got negative x, plus 2 equals -1. Subtract 2 from both sides. I've got negative x equals -3. Divide both sides by -1. X is 3. Now I just have to find z. I would take any of these 3 equations that we started with, and then put it in there, because you can't put it into here because I don't have any z's right here. All right, put in any one of the ones with the z. All right, what's the easiest one? The first one? Well, you got a 2 in front of it, but I mean, that's fine. You could put it in the first one. I'd probably put it either the second one or the third one because z is already by itself. But dividing by a 2 really is not that big of a deal. So we could put it into any of them. It doesn't matter. You said the first one. Let's put it in the first one. So it's x. What is x? 3 plus y, which is 2 plus 2z equals 7. Add those up. Let's do a little bit in our head. Add these up. 3 and 2 is 5. Subtract it from both sides. So 2z is what? Subtract 5 from both sides is 2. Divide both sides by 2. Z is 1. There you go. Now, we don't leave it like that. I mean, you can. I wouldn't mark it wrong if you did leave it like that. But how are you supposed to write your answer? As an ordered triple. Which one goes first? X, which is 3. Then the y is 2. And then z is 1. That right there is how you should write your answer. Okay? All right. Do another one. What'd you say after 2? 3? And then 5? Okay. If you need to go back and look at it, do it tonight on YouTube, okay? It'll be up there. Let's do number 3. 3x minus y minus 2z equals 12. And then x plus y plus 6z. X plus y plus 6z equals 8. And then 2x minus 2y, 2x minus 2y minus z equals 11. All right, here we go. Again, we got to make a choice. And really, you could choose any of these. It doesn't matter. Just because I do it a certain way doesn't mean you have to do it that way. I'm looking at this. Let me do the way I did in my notes. Oh, yeah, that's the way I did it. Do you see the minus y plus y? To me, I would get rid of the y's in the first and second equation, wouldn't you? Yeah, because all you got to do is just add them together. You really don't have to do much to them. So I'm just going to copy and paste it and then move this up here. Saves me from writing everything. All right, so now we're actually ready just to add up the columns because, look, I don't have to do anything to it because I can get rid of the y's. So that and that cancel. Just add up everything else. 3x plus 1x, 4x. What's that? Negative 2 plus 6 is plus 4, z And then what's that? 20. Did I do that right? Yep. I'll tell you what. Before I try to eliminate the y in the other equation, I see something. Do you see it? You don't have to do this. It just makes it a little bit easier. What do you see that you can do to make this equation right here a little bit easier? Anybody? Yeah, divide everything by 4. Do you have to do that? No, you don't. But I think it might make things a little bit easier. Okay? So I'm going to divide everything right here by 4. So what do I get? X plus z equals 5. So I think, personally, that might make it just a little bit easier. Don't you? All right. You don't have to do that. But I did. And we have to get rid of y somewhere else. Where else? How else can we get rid of the y's? We did the first and the second one. Let's do what? Let's do the second and the third one. Is that all right? But what are we going to have to do if we're going to use the second and the third one? Yeah, multiply this by, not a negative 2. Yeah, by positive 2. Multiply it by 2, by 2, by 2, and by 2. So let's write that second equation, the new second equation. Let's write it out. So I've got 2x plus 2y plus, what's that, 12z equals 16. See what I did? I took that second equation, just multiplied it by 2, and I wrote it down right here. I'll put a little arrow so you see it. Everybody see that? Now I'm going to take the third equation and write it down. Okay? I didn't do anything to the third. I just wrote it down. Now, why in the world did I multiply this by a 2 so I can get this to be a 2y and so I could cancel out the y's? Because remember, right here I have an x and a z. I cancel out the y's. I want to cancel out the y's here. So the y's cancel. Add up everything else. 2x plus 2x is 4x. What's this? Plus 11z. And what's that? 27. All right. Can I simplify this equation at all? No, I can't. So I've got that. Now I'm going to take those two, put them on top of each other, and then solve for either x or z. Remember, we just reached the top of the hill. Now we're just going down. Well, maybe in the next equation, we'll be going downhill. So let's just write it out. X plus z equals 5. 4x plus 11z equals 27. All right. You could get rid of the x or the z. It doesn't make any difference. Which one do you think you would prefer? I would probably get rid of the x. I think that might be a little bit easier, right? But I can't just add them up and get rid of them. What am I going to have to make that? I'm going to make that a negative 4x. So I just multiply by negative 4. Multiply that by negative 4 and multiply that by negative 4. That way the x's will cancel out. I'm still climbing the hill, getting to the top of the hill. I don't know if that analogy helps or not, but anyway, that's how I look at it. I'm just going to multiply all that stuff out, write it here, and then I'll just write this right here. Okay? Are you with me or not?
Yes.
Okay. If not, if I'm going too fast, let me know. But again, you can always watch it on the video. Just pause it, figure it out, write it down. Does anybody ever do that? Anybody ever pause it, write stuff down, then go back? All right, that's the whole idea. Okay, what can we do? Those cancel out. What's this going to be? 7z. What's that going to be? 7. What's z? It's 1. Now I can solve for x very easily. I could use this one or I could use this one. This is definitely the easier one to use, so let's use it. So it's x plus z, which is 1, equals 5. Super easy. X is 4. Now we got to solve for what? Y, correct? I can use any of these equations. It doesn't make any difference. You could use this top one, but it's got a negative y. This might be a little confusing. Remember, I put the 2's there. What was it originally, though? It was x plus y plus 6z equals 8. So that's what I would use. Did I use that in my notes? Don't think I did. I did it actually different in my notes. That's okay. This should still work. Let's see. What do we got? I know an x, so it's 4 plus y. That's what I don't know. Okay. And then plus, can we do that in our head? 6 times 1? I think so. It's plus 6 equals 8. This is 10. Subtract it. What's y? Negative 2. It's 8 minus 10. Okay. I just skipped a little step there. I think you can do that, can't you? All right, so there's my x, y, and my z. Let's put it into a ordered triple. The x goes first, 4. The y goes next, negative 2. The z goes last, 1. And that is the answer to that problem. If you got these wrong, are you seeing where you went wrong? Okay, that's the key. All right, the key to getting that quiz back and using it to study for the test is to see where you went wrong so you don't make that mistake again. There's nothing wrong with getting a problem wrong if you learn from it, especially in here because I give you test corrections, correct? All right. One more. You said 5? Okay. So even though I'm giving you 10 questions, I mean, obviously these problems take a little bit longer with the 3 variables. All right, so make sure you just know how to do them right away. You don't have to sit there and think about, oh, what should I do? What should I do? If you're doing that, you haven't studied enough, okay? Make sure that you're so proficient at this that you just write this stuff down, all right? You should just be able to do that and hardly have to think about what the next step is. Again, what's your question? You can use any way that you want, but my suggestion is to use substitution elimination. If you're a fan of the Gauss-Jordan method, right, or just the Gauss method, the Gaussian method, if you want to do it that way, feel free. But the only reason I'm doing it this way is because I think we agreed this made a little more sense. Maybe if you did the other way a whole lot more, you had more practice with it, the other way might be better, but that's okay. All right, let's see. I got rid of the z. Which one would you do to get rid of the z? Yeah, I would do the second and the third. You could do the first and the third, right? But let's do the second and the third. So I am going to just copy and paste this. Saves me rewriting everything. All right, so let's get rid of the z's. I think this was tailor-made for you, isn't it, to get rid of the z's first? So you know that cancels. Let's add up everything else. That's a 1, so what do we get? Negative 3x. This is a negative 1, so this is what? Plus 2y. That's 0, and that's 4. Right? That should be pretty easy once you cancel out the z's. Again, we're trying to cancel out z's again. So we did the second and third. What's another easy way to do this? The which one? I would do the first one, right? And the third one, wouldn't you? You don't even have to do that. Yeah, you don't even have to do that if you use the first and the third. Okay?
Wait, so you can use the same row twice?
Yeah, as long as you use it with another row. Yeah. You just don't use the same 2 rows twice because you're just going to end up the same thing and everything's just going to cancel out to nothing. All right? Bear with me? Okay, here we go. The z's cancel. What's that? That's negative 2x. What's that? Plus 6y equals negative 2. Let's put that in a box. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's don't even put it in a box. Just for the sake of time, I'm just going to copy and paste. Put this over here. Then I'm going to take this one. Copy and paste that one. Oops. I'll get rid of the box in a second. All right, let's get rid of the box now. There we go. All right, so there's the 2 things. I'll put that in a box now. Okay, so those are the 2 things that we came up with, and now we just we got to do a little work here. So now this one, This part right here is probably the most complicated thing that we've done so far today. It's really not that complicated. What do you want to get to be the same? Well, not really the same. One's positive, one's negative. I'd probably turn this into a -6, wouldn't you? Right? You could turn this into a 6 and this into a positive 6 and a -6, or either way. But then you'd have to multiply both of them by something. All you got to do is multiply this by what? -3. Yeah. Multiply that by -3. Multiply that by -3. Multiply that by -3. Let's see what we get. -3 times -3, positive 9x. What's that going to be? Minus 6y. Make sure you get your signs right, because look, there's so many steps in this problem. So many places where you could do a multiplication error, addition error, a sign error. Okay, so you got to be really careful. Make sure you're doing everything right. 4 times -3 is -12. And then let's just rewrite this. That's -2x. That's plus 6y. That equals -2. The reason that we did that is so we could cancel out the y's when we add up the columns. So we cancel these y's out because they add up to 0. 9x minus 2x is 7x equals, what's that? Negative, right? -12 plus -2 is -14. Divide by 7, so x is -2. All right? Again, make sure you're very careful with your signs. All right. Now we could take that -2 into either one of these. That's already sitting right there. Might as well just use this one. So what do we get? -2 times x, which is -2 as well, right? Plus 6y equals -2. This is positive 4 plus 6y equals -2. Subtract 4 from both sides. That cancels. 6y is -6. What's y? -1. Now all we got to do is solve for z. I don't have any z. Oh, yeah, I got a z right there. Let's do the bottom one, like this one right here. That's the bottom one. I just can't see my x and y. Can you remember what your x and y is? Okay. So it's negative. I'll tell you what, let's do this in a different color because I got so much junk going on here. So what do we got? -4 times x. What did we say x was? -2. Plus what? Plus 3 times -1 plus z equals 6. Right here. Okay, all I'm doing is just plugging in x and y into this third equation. Anybody still hanging on? Some of you guys I'm losing. So here we go. This is 8. This is -3 plus z is 6. 8 minus 3 is 5. Subtract 5. Z is 1. And then you write it all. I'll tell you what. Let's do this in a completely different color just to make it stand out. Yeah, ordered triple. Let's scooch it down so we can see our letters. What was our x? -2, -1, 1, and then that. Is that the answer I wrote down on your quiz? That's how you get it. Now, there's multiple ways you could do those problems, all right? But that's the way that I picked. That's the way you saw it. If you want to try it a different way, you can. There you go. I think the ones that we didn't do, what did we not do? 2 and 4? Is that what we didn't do? Everybody's got the answers to those, right? Did I give you the answers on the quiz? Yeah. Everybody? Okay. So make sure that I'll tell you what. Let me just write them down. If anybody that's not here today is looking at their quiz and they don't know what the answer is or whatever. We didn't do 2 today, is that correct?
We didn't do 1.
Oh, we didn't do 1. We did 2, didn't we?
2, 3, and 5. We didn't do 1 and 4.
1 and 4. Okay, so 1, the answer is 1, 1, 2. Just in case. If you're watching on YouTube and you got the quiz in front of you, that's what that is. And then number 4 was 2, 1, 0. 2, 1, 0. Okay? Now, let me tell you on the test tomorrow. Some of the problems on the test will be the exact same problems that I've gone over in the review. Some of them will be the same type of problem, just different numbers. Okay? All right, so don't just sit there and memorize all the questions on the quiz and just write down the answers. I mean, look, you got to show your work. There's no way in the world, okay, that you're going to do this on your test in block number 1. You're just going to write that, and I have no idea where you got that from. Mr. Herman, just did in my head. I can do it. I'm real smart. No. Okay, you can't. All right? Right? So don't just write down the answer. I have to see this stuff right here. All right? Again, it's only 10 problems. It's not 20 this time. It'll still count 100 points, though. All right? Haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to grade, how many points I'm going to take off, how many points for corrections just yet. But we'll see how it goes. All right. Well, I will tell you this. The first time you take the test, there's 10 questions, there's 100 points. So how much is each question worth? 10 points. Okay, so I will take 10 points off the first time you take it. But on the corrections, I may give you up to, let's see, what did I give you normally? I give you 3 out of 5, right? So that's 60%. So I'll give you 6. We'll make it exactly the same, okay? So I'll give you 6 points on the corrections if you get the correction right. Everybody got that? So that's giving you 60%. That's more than half. That's fair, don't you think? Yeah. All right, so that's what we're going to do. That worked out well. Okay, question.
Is the test gonna be like the quiz but bigger?
Yeah, it's going to be like, well, it's going to be like the quiz, but there's going to be 10 questions.
So it's gonna have 10, and there's gonna be ones that are 2 and ones that are 3.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, listen. There's going to be, here, let me just go over this really quick. I got like 2 minutes left. I can do this. So on the test tomorrow, number 1 and 2, solve by what? What did I say earlier? No. Solve by graphing. 1 and 2, solve by graphing. Okay, go back, find your old quiz. Okay, 3 and 4 is solved by, I don't know, one or the other. It's either substitution or elimination. But it's just substitution. Remember, this is the one with 2 variables. Okay, the first half, the first 6 of them are 2 variables. Okay, there's 4 of the 3 variable problems. Everybody got that? So 5 and 6 solved by what? Elimination. Again, these are all 2 variables. All right, and then numbers 7 to 10 solved by whatever method you want. Okay, and it's what? 3 variables. It's the ones we did today, basically. They're the types that we did today. That's it. It's only 10 problems. That's still going to take a lot of time. All right, so you got to make sure that you're fast on these things. You know what you're doing. You just cannot, listen to me. Everybody listening? You cannot sit there and say, I wonder what I should do first. Man, you start thinking that way and you're already done. All right? You've got to look at it and know exactly what to do right off the bat. If you can do that, you should have plenty of time to get this thing done. All right? I would practice these tonight. Don't just use what we did today as enough review. You have to practice them. Take the exact same problems, write them down, put the quiz away, and then try it. All right? And see if you got the problem right. Once you do that, listen to me. Once you do that, then take some of the odd problems that are in the book, try those. Why the odd problems? Because you'll know if you got the problems right because the answers are in the back. In fact, we actually, when we went over the homework, I read off every single problem. So technically, you should have the answers to every single problem from the book that I assigned. All right? Please practice it. Please do well on this. All right? Don't come in unprepared. Please come prepared. Tell the others that are out today to watch the video on YouTube so that they're ready for this.